Joining us now to go in depth, Congressman Ron DeSantis of Florida. Ron's a member of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs as well as the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. He even has a third assignment, the House Committee on the Judiciary. He is one busy guy. So, Ron, we thank you very much for taking time to join us this morning on America's Forum.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, Ron, you, like a lot of Americans, probably sat down to watch President Obama on 60 Minutes. Did you agree with what he had to say about America's role in this fight against ISIS?
Well, when he says we're not at war with ISIS, I don't understand what he means. They beheaded 2 American citizens, and so they're clearly at war with us. They are a threat to our security. And I was really troubled by the president suggesting that somehow, oh, this is the CIA's fault. They overlooked this. This wasn't something that they recognized was that serious. Fact of the matter is, you go back at the beginning of the year when Fallujah fell to ISIS. We knew then that this was something that was very significant. And I talked with a lot of my colleagues who served in Iraq and discussed how serious that was, because we spent a lot of time and effort in Al Anbar province to kick Al Qaeda in Iraq out. So I think the president is just not telling the American people the truth. And I think it's troubling because going forward, he does not have a lot of credibility with members of Congress. You know, I want to support the commander-in-chief generally, but I'm not willing to, just fall over if he's not going to be honest with us.
So, Ron, you mentioned blaming intelligence, and rhetorically last night he threw Director Clapper under the bus. Will Clapper keep his job now? What do you think?
Well, if it's Clapper's fault, if you say that publicly and he misses something this big, now I think a lot of us think that this is just Obama never taking responsibility for anything himself. But the fact that the president has gone out that far, it seems to me that it would be almost inconceivable that this would be the guy that you'd want to go forward with, given that he messed up that bad.
In terms of military strategy, a lot of debate on whether air power alone will get the job done against ISIS. Speaker John Boehner has weighed in. Let's listen to his succinct message, then we'll get your take on what the speaker had to say.
These are barbarians. They intend to kill us. And if we don't destroy them first, we're going to pay the price.
Speaker Boehner went on to discuss the need for troops on the ground during his conversation with George Stephanopoulos on ABC's This Week. So what about you, Congressman DeSantis? Do you expect the boots on the ground to be American boots before all is said and done?
Well, I think it's important to point out we already have American boots on the ground. And you can say that they're limited in numbers, but those guys are in harm's way. And anytime you're conducting an air campaign, you're going to need people on the ground for target vetting and the like. And so that's already there. I think if your goal is to destroy ISIS, which I think we need to do, there needs to be a ground force. It could be American, it could be foreign. I've been very skeptical as to whether these Syrian rebels, a lot of these guys are as anti-American Islamists, that arming them is going to do the trick. That seems to be what the president is weighing on right now. But I do think ultimately to be able to defeat them, you need to hit them from the air and on the ground.
Ron, about a minute 30 before we get to the break, and let's talk about the headline that horrified so many Americans Friday afternoon, the beheading that took place in Oklahoma City. The government calling this again workplace violence. The cops in Moore, Oklahoma say no, this was terrorism, pure and simple. What do you think of this debate on semantics on this beheading in Oklahoma City?
You've got to tell the American people the truth. You can't sugarcoat it with political correctness. And this is significant because the Facebook postings that some news organizations, conservative organizations, have reported on, it shows that he was at least inspired by ISIS. He was doing the ISIS salute. So that has implications for our security. I've been worried about these foreign fighters and U.S. citizens coming back from the fight and coming back into our communities. That's very troubling. But here you may have a guy who's just a lone wolf who was inspired by the message of jihad. And so I think that puts the American people at risk. And you absolutely have to be honest with them, and the government needs to tell the truth about this.
Ron DeSantis, we're going to ask you to stay through the break with us. When we come back, we'll talk some about the departure of Eric Holder as Attorney General. But right now, speaking to you at home who've heard what Congressman DeSantis has to say. What is your take on the future of our fight with ISIS? Why don't you tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, hashtag America's Forum. There's also newsmaxtv.com/comment, and don't forget Facebook.